What's up, guys? It's Lo, and you are tuned in to Wrestling Winedown, a female-founded and hosted podcast dedicated to professional wrestling and our favorite adult beverage. Welcome to the Prosecco Panel. This is an all-women panel where we will be chatting about the 2021 Royal Rumble. I am so excited to be joined by some lovely ladies, including podcaster Iridian Fierro and Teti Chavez of the Wrestfriends podcast, podcaster Ella J of A Wrestling Gal, Samira of It's Just Samira YouTube, influencer Court Kim, wrestling influencer Brittni Sacco, Katrina of the Kicking with Cat podcast, Stephanie Hardy of the Hardy Wrestling podcast, Nicole from the Down for the Count podcast, Emily of Women's Wrestling Talk, and the ladies of Kayfabe Queens to chat about the best moments, matches, returns, you name it, from the 2021 Royal Rumble. So grab your glass of wine. We're going in for the 3 count.
Goldberg made yet another return to the WWE Legends, this time challenging Drew McIntyre for a match for the WWE Championship at Royal Rumble. So ladies, how are we feeling about this? Nicole, how did you feel when Goldberg issued this challenge to Drew McIntyre?
I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised, if that makes sense. And then because it's Goldberg, he shows up and he wrestles for all of 2 minutes because that's all he can handle. And my concern was, it's like, okay, you have Goldberg who can't be in a match longer than 5 minutes, and then you have Drew who's recovering from COVID-19, and despite what we all might think, that could have messed up his respiratory, because I noticed that he was breathing super heavy when he first came back and when he got in that scuffle. So I was like, this is going to be a disaster.
A train wreck, you would say?
Yes.
I feel like that's the exact word to describe it. It was just a lot going on and then nothing at the same time. You get me?
Yeah. Samira, what were your thoughts on this match? I mean, it was super short. If you blinked or you went out to the kitchen to get something to eat, you might have missed the whole match. What were your thoughts?
So I actually had to replay that match because I went to go tell my mom that the show had won, and as soon as I came back, it was done. So I had to replay it, and I was just like, oh, okay, like this was so short, and like they just start off just fighting, and then the bell rings, and then it's like basically over, and I was like, okay. I was just happy that Drew won though, because I just feel like they could have had that spot for somebody else in the back, like some other people that newer faces, not like Goldberg. I don't see why they keep bringing him back. Maybe it's just like I don't know, contracting. I mean, he's good. He's good for, his age. He's doing really well, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling it.
Well, yeah, Goldberg is still under a contract. He wrestles a certain amount of matches or a certain amount of time during the year. So that is why we saw him pop up again. After the match, we saw this moment between Goldberg and Drew, a sign of respect almost. And a lot of people anticipated that Goldberg would come back later on in the night, enter the Men's Royal Rumble, win the match, and go on to either challenge Drew again or challenge Roman Reigns. And we know how Roman feels about Goldberg. Stephanie, did you think that Goldberg would come back in the Royal Rumble?
No, I didn't. And I think a part of it is because of the fact that there wasn't any type of buzz about him sort of supposedly coming back. And also because it seemed as if, once the match was over and he was giving Drew all of his respect, which I thought was really surprising given everything that he said, and with him agreeing with The Undertaker and everything he said about the men in the back being soft now compared to his day. He was actually giving respect to him, and there was a finality to it that just gave me sort of like a closure that, he wasn't going to come back for the rest of the night. Like, I hadn't heard anything about him possibly coming back in the Royal Rumble, and if he had, I would have been irritated. But thank God, he didn't, and it just felt like there was a sense of finality to him walking away. It was almost a passing of the torch to Drew, because he was telling him, you passed the test. Like, if you could read his lips, there was a finality to it that I felt that made me feel like, okay, well, we won't see him anymore for the rest of the night.
Iridian, Grandpa Bill. Are we going to see him back in the WWE this year? Or do you anticipate him kind of stepping aside, realizing his place right now, and taking a break, maybe doing some ambassador work or something else, maybe helping out at NXT? But do you see him active on this roster, whether it's with Drew, whether it's with Roman? It's WrestleMania season. We know the guys that used to be very popular in the WWE love to get their hands on that WrestleMania money. Do you see him coming back?
I don't want him to come back, but I'm pretty sure he will. I just don't get the appeal of Goldberg. I don't understand why everyone is so hyped about him. Like, Goldberg needs to go and sit down. Like, your time has passed, my guy. And I thought it was just like a girl thing, like that. Oh, you know what? Maybe like we don't get the appeal. But I've talked to like a couple of guys and they're like, no, we didn't, want Goldberg to come back either. So I don't get it. It's like, is Vince backstage, calling Goldberg, having like good conversations, like, oh man, yeah, you did such a good job. You need to come back next week, be on for Monday or be on for Friday. I'm not getting it. I don't understand. But I do think that we are going to see Goldberg again. But I'm so glad that Drew retained this title, because I would have lost my mind if Goldberg took it away from him.
Did anyone have any doubt that Drew would lose the title? I had like a slither of doubt there that they might just pull a fast one on us and give that title to Goldberg. We know WWE loves to trend on Twitter, and I felt like that might have been the moment that they did it. Ella, what were your thoughts going into it?
Well, same as you. I was just praying and hoping that Drew would retain so we could see an actual like champion and invigorating storyline going into the Royal Rumble. Personally, I could have done with like Drew McIntyre versus somebody like Keith Lee, but obviously we know Keith Lee was out for the Rumble because of personal stuff. But I just want going forward, Drew to have like a proper opponent, whether that's Edge or somebody else. Give him somebody who's stable, who's consistent on the roster, who's not just going to come in for like 2 months and then go away and then come back. And, it's not compelling storylines. So I'm very glad that Drew retained. There was that doubt in my mind, though. I was fully convinced that Goldberg was going to win that match, and I was ready to riot. But luckily, that match, they had the brawl at the beginning, and then then I went ding ding, and then they did spear, jackhammer, claymore, and then it was done. So I mean, that's what a Goldberg match is going to be. It's going to be like less than 5 minutes, like Nicole said. So I mean, Goldberg did what he came to do, what he normally does, and I feel bad saying luckily he lost, but I feel like most of us did a big sigh of relief when the bell rang and Drew retained.
Well, we know that Edge went on to win the Royal Rumble match that night. Do we think, Nicole, that Edge is going to challenge Drew? Or do you think Drew will eye someone else to go up against at WrestleMania?
I originally thought it was Drew until they basically put Edge on this "we're going to get our money's worth out of you" tour, so go to every one of our brands. And this was just me, like, just fantasy booking, so I think that's what we all do. And I was like, I really want to see him against Roman. And I was like, and I really started thinking about it, and then I was talking to a few other people. Then I started seeing a couple rumblings that they were heavily considering it. I don't want him to fight Drew. I either want him to go on again to fight the tribal chief, yay, praise the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, or to go to NXT and fight whoever wins that belt on TakeOver on Valentine's Day. So that's just my personal thing. I love Drew. I think if they really go on with the Sheamus storyline and build it up properly and give it a lot more meat, I think that would be a really great Mania match. But I don't want Edge over there. He can go to Wednesday or Friday, but not Monday.
Stephanie, who would you like to see Drew face off against at WrestleMania?
Preferably, if all goes well, definitely for Keith Lee. I would want him to face Keith Lee again. Actually, it's two people. It's between Keith Lee and this is kind of a wild card, maybe, but maybe Mustafa Ali.
Mhm.
And I say those two because I feel like Keith really took Drew to the absolute limit the last time they fought. And I just don't want that to be like the end for him and he doesn't get another opportunity for like the next 5 years. And I also say Mustafa Ali because right now he's in this really enthralling feud with Kofi Kingston because he feels like he has this chip on his shoulder because Kofi stole his opportunity when he got injured. And then Kofi Mania happened and boom, 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 and all of that. And now he's looking to prove himself. If Mustafa proved himself against Kofi and actually came out the victor in that feud, that would make him look really strong because he would have beat a former WWE champion. And if he had the opportunity to go for that title yet again, that would be really cool. So those are my two picks to go up against Drew.
We will see where Drew's championship lies at WrestleMania, but it was so great talking to you guys. Where can the people find you both on social media?
You can find me on my personal account, Nicole Maria _89, or you can go follow my podcast with my other three lovely hosts, and that's also on Twitter at down4 the count 19, and then you can find us also on Instagram, D4TC _podcast.
And you can find my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy WrestlePod. And you can listen wherever you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere else. And you can follow my regular Instagram at Queen Steph Hardy and my regular Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy as well.
Sasha Banks defended for the second time against Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she brought along Reginald, and she obviously retained her title. So, Emily, how did you feel about that match?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, it was an exciting night all around, right? We had some incredible history-making moments. And, you know, again, both of these women came out and showed everyone what it's all about, right? You know, you have Sasha that's like always so incredible, and you know, again, like the boss, right? Right, always owning the room, always like taking, you know, ownership in the ring, and like I'm super excited like on this road to WrestleMania to see what happens, especially with the results of the Royal Rumble, what possible matches and rivalries that could come up because of it.
We have to get into the gear here. I think both ladies had some incredible gear. Sasha Banks, I don't know if she went into the Mysterio family's collection and pulled out that LV, but honey, she looked good. She looked really good. I love that gear. I saw some people online that said the white shorts kind of look like a diaper, which I really didn't see it in my opinion. How do you guys feel about Sasha's gear during this match?
I mean, I loved like the cross promotion, right? Like she's bringing it, right? I feel like they need to do that more, you know? Like she's like elevating her brand even more by having that type of gear.
Yeah, when Sasha came out in the Louis, I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
she means business. Something's getting done tonight.
Let's talk about Carmella's gear. She has been doing the all red everything lately, which I think Eva Marie is probably at home with her sunglasses on, just kind of looking over. I'm like, okay, I see you, girl. But do we like her gear? I thought it was different from what she's given us before with like the, you know, the leather. Now this time it was more Charlotte Flair-esque. People thought that she got a boob job because she had a push-up bra on. I like the gear. I think they did a good job. They kept with the red, but it was different. And you needed something different for the new year. Ella, what did you think?
The first thing I remember thinking was Maria Kanellis, because Maria used to do the hoods with the fur and the feathers. And I was like, it's giving me Maria Kanellis vibes because it was red too, but she's done an homage to a lot of divas from the past we've seen through her moves, through her looks, through the whole curtain thing. You know, it wasn't, I believe that was Christy Hemme, somebody said. So I can definitely see an homage to a lot of divas from the past, and especially seeing her gear. The first thing I thought of was Maria Kanellis because it was around her neck, the feathers. And so I don't know if that was intentional. It probably was, but I think she's having fun with playing on past divas and bringing them back to the present, bringing all aspects of them. So I loved her gear personally. It was a nice like switch up, like you said, from the leather to something more like playful and fun, I feel like.
Yeah, and like her evolution of her look recently has been really fun to watch, and like because she kind of re-debuted this new look, you know, the Royal Rumble is kind of the place where you can bring out some new gear, bring out something fresh.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's like the place to do it, right? So it's like the playoffs, right? To lead into the Super Bowl, right? So you're like, all right, you got to bring all of it. So.
Bianca Belair won the Royal Rumble match, and many people are thinking that she is going to go ahead and challenge Sasha for that SmackDown Women's Championship. So that makes me wonder, where exactly does Carmella go from here? We know that Elimination Chamber, or whatever they're calling it this year, because I saw there was a name change, is coming up. Do we expect her to get involved in another storyline before WrestleMania, or do you think that they're kind of going to hold her back and kind of just have her in, you know, different matches, build her up a little bit, but not have her in a large spotlight for WrestleMania? What do you think, Samira?
I don't know. I mean, they've been building her up for so long now. I don't see, like, you know, them putting her off to the side so much. I think she'll have a match at WrestleMania, but obviously not just like the title picture. I feel like that's done now. It's over, you know, like I feel like they've run its course. I think it's time for something different for her. And who knows what that will be.
Emily, you are the women's wrestling talk. You know it all. Where do you think Carmella is going next?
It's so hard to know right now, you know, because from now until WrestleMania, anything can happen. I don't know. I feel like sky's the limit for her right now. I feel like she has, you know, continuously showcased what she can do, you know? So I feel like, you know, the women's roster might get, you know, a little shakeup leading to WrestleMania. You never know if there might be a surprise call up on Raw or SmackDown, and you know, any of those things are possible. And so I don't know, like I feel like every week is a surprise and guessing game leading up, because really, like you said, the storylines are like they're priming everything right now to really make it an exciting April.
As Ella mentioned, we did see Reginald involved here, and he's had a lot of involvement in Carmella's matches. Are we feeling it? Because I'm not feeling it. Like,
You don't like Reggie?
I like
Who
Reggie.
is he?
He had some
I don't know
athletic.
who
who
he
is
is.
he?
He's a wine connoisseur,
I
guys.
didn't know who he was.
Like, Reggie had this great match with Sasha the other day. He proved himself to me. I was thinking he was a little bit shady because he was with Carmella. But after that match, I'm like, oh my God, Reggie, are you trying to be a WWE superstar? Like, is this what's next for you? Are you going to use Carmella and like elevate yourself? Like, what's happening? I haven't been able to like really connect with this new Carmella character. I think I connected with her more when she was like Miss Money in the Bank, and she had like the dollars all over her pants, and like she was like living her best life. But I like Reggie with Carmella. She doesn't need him, but I think the pairing is well. It's way better than Ric Flair and Lacey.
What do you think they're doing there, though? Like, I kind of feel like a lot of people are confused about why Reggie is paired with Carmella.
That's true.
You know, I'm not sure, but the reason why it bothers me so much, and I've mentioned this before, I think Carmella has always had a man by her side in the WWE, and there hasn't been a period of time where there hasn't been another performer, specifically male, next to her side. You've had Big Cass and Enzo in NXT. You had R-Truth for that whole while. You had James Ellsworth. Now you have Reginald. We need this girl to just do her thing on her own. Like, she doesn't really need a sommelier right by her side to catch her when she falls out of the ring or help her when she needs help in the match. I think she's capable of doing it on her own. She's a former SmackDown Women's Champion. She's won Money in the Bank twice. Yeah, James Ellsworth helped her the first time, but she still did it. And she had to win the match a second time, if you guys remember. So I really don't know why they're painting her as to always need a guy right there to help her in her matches or to help elevate her character. I think she can definitely elevate her own character by herself.
I think the pairing of Reginald and Carmella, I think that's an interesting angle of seeing, like Iridian mentioned, we saw an intergender match between Sasha and Reginald. I would love to see in some capacity like a tag match, an intergender tag match, a mixed tag match, but I don't know who it would be against. My first thought was Naomi and Usos, but Naomi's on Raw now and the Usos are on SmackDown, and like all the other pairings like Alexa and Bray, like the pairings are on Raw. So I don't know if they're thinking down the line maybe an intergender or a mixed tag team match somehow. I mean, Rhea Ripley's fate is up in the air whether she's going to SmackDown or Raw. Maybe her next opponent is Rhea Ripley and Carmella, or we don't know. So I'm interesting to see if they play on those cards down the line in the mixed tag match or feud somehow.
Bring the Garganos in.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
Wow.
I didn't even think of that.
That would be good. I wasn't even thinking
It's
anywhere
time.
NXT call up.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like anything can happen, right? Like we have so many things leading to April.
And that would be crazy, like for Carmella and Reggie versus the Organos at WrestleMania. What?
I'd be down.
I think we just booked them a match for WrestleMania.
Wow, we should put that out, see what people think.
We will be putting it out. The sky is the limit, and I'm very eager to see what happens between Carmella and Sasha if they go their respective ways heading into WrestleMania season. Thank you, Emily, so much for joining us today on our Prosecco panel. Where can the people find you on social media?
You can find me on all social platforms at Emily May Heller and follow Women's Wrestling Talk all over Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. We're all around.
And I know you guys just started a new segment about wrestlers and their pets.
We did. We started a new show called Pro Wrestling Pets, and I go around and, well, I'm not really going around, but I try to interview wrestlers and all of their pets, and it is the most incredible fun I've had. I've had dogs, cats, bunnies. I've had a lizard and a dragon so far.
Oh my goodness, we will definitely be tuning in.
I saw all of your faces during that, so.
Wow, the Women's Royal Rumble match was one of the best matches on the card. We saw 30 talented women get in that ring and kick ass. We know who the eventual winner was, which, of course, you know, my Bianca Belair stand card still stands. So obviously, I was extremely excited to see Bianca win. Iridian, how did you feel about this match?
Oh man, the Women's Royal Rumble match is the one match that I probably look forward to the most besides like the men's. I feel like it's just a higher excitement. You know, you're just like, man, these are my girls. And I've been waiting for this, you know, for a long time. We didn't have a Women's Royal Rumble. So for them to be able to show up and show out and out wrestle the men and outperform the men is just something that I always look forward to.
Who were your guys' like surprise entrants? Like you weren't expecting to see them. You got really excited for them to come on screen. Katrina, who did you see that kind of made you mark out that you couldn't believe they were back in the WWE or you were excited for them to be in the match?
For me, it was Victoria. I loved Victoria when she was in WWE before. I always felt like the WWE kind of like pushed her to the background, like she wasn't one of the most amazing women wrestlers they had there. So when I saw her come out with her gear, I like had like a whole meltdown. I was like, oh my God, Victoria. First of all, her gear was like absolute fire. I was like the whole Spider-Man thing happening. And then even though, you know, it seemed like she was wearing a brace and that kind of took a little bit away from it, I was just happy to see her again because she is, for me, one of the best women that WWE has ever signed. So for me, like it was cool to see Jillian Hall just because her gimmick was like, you know, silly and I appreciated that. But Victoria was my girl. So it was just super amazing to see her again to wrestle.
Ella, I know you love you some Victoria. You work with the GAW podcast. What were your thoughts seeing her finally come out to that ring and just get in there and kick ass?
Well, to be honest, I knew about her return beforehand, but actually seeing it happen live got me so emotional. I was like on FaceTime with one of my friends, and I didn't know what number she was coming out at. So when her music hit at number 10, I got so emotional because I knew all these amazing spots were coming up. And, you know, she did her Widow's Peak on Peyton, which is kind of like getting her revenge because Peyton uses the Widow's Peak now. So that was a fun moment. But also, like Katrina said, like Jillian returning Billy and Jilly was a really fun spot. And we haven't seen Jillian Hall in 10 years, right? So that one was a really fun spot. And then we saw Tori and Mickie James and Alicia Fox coming back was super, super fun. Alicia always breathes life into whatever she's doing. So Alicia coming back was really, really fun. But Victoria got me really, really emotional. I was so happy for her. I think she did really, really well.
My girl, Court Kim, Naomi returned. We have been waiting for her to return. Last year, she came back at the Royal Rumble. In my opinion, I don't think she was utilized properly throughout that next time within 2020. We really didn't see her a lot. It was like a karaoke contest, and then she was injured, had some family stuff going on. We didn't see her. How did you feel seeing her come in at that number 2 spot to face off against Bayley?
Really hyped to see Naomi as the number 2 spot, especially seeing how far she went within the women's Royal Rumble at large. She did what needed to be done. She looked fantastic. I really enjoyed her gear. It was really wonderful. I loved the orange, and I loved her hair, like the intentions with like having curly hair for her debut back. She knew what like it was time to perform, and she did that. And I hope that she was proud of her performance, because it was just amazing from start to finish for me.
Samira, so the last 3 people in this match were Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair. And once Charlotte Flair got kicked out or eliminated, I think it really changed the mindset of people. People were eager that we were finally going to have one of the newer talent, be a Royal Rumble winner. How did you feel in that moment when you saw Charlotte Flair go over that top rope and it was just Rhea and Bianca left?
I was very excited. Like I did like a live reaction, and like I was just hoping Bianca would win. She was like my number 1 pick. And I was like a newer person needs to get to win the Rumble. Like not Charlotte 2 years in a row. Like she's already had her chance. Like let somebody else have it. And then once she went over, I was like, oh my God, like somebody's gonna get it. And I just like, come on, Bianca, come on, Bianca. So I was really, really happy that she won. And even if Rhea won, I would have been happy too, because it would have been interesting to see who she would have chosen too.
I want to get everyone's thoughts on Bianca winning. Iridian's laughing. I love Bianca Belair, and I talked about it previously, but we've seen, her struggles over the weeks going back and forth with Bayley. We've seen her not win that NXT Women's Championship, and it really put a sour taste in people's mouth, because we know how much she's capable of. We see how she works in the ring. We see how she cuts these amazing promos. We knew her time was coming, and I could really appreciate that chronicle where they laid everything out from her career when, before she was in the WWE and to now. But seeing that moment, Katrina, how did you feel?
Well, I was watching it with a friend of mine. So when she was my pick, and I felt like once the Chronicle happened, I was like, okay, she's winning this. You're not going to give us all of this. I mean, I love Bianca since the beginning. I hated that she didn't get that NXT title. I was like mad about that for like 2 months. Like whoever would listen to me complain, I'm like, so nobody else mad? Like I'm mad right now about this. I was just really upset. So when I figured she was my pick, I felt like this is her time. And the whole spot with her and Naomi was amazing, with like Naomi grabbing her braid and they kind of shimming themselves. But I love, like, I mean, a part of me was like, you don't touch Black girls' hair, you don't touch the hair. But also it was like you guys are helping each other at the same time. So I love that spot. So to have Naomi make it that far and then to have Bianca win it was just everything to me. Like I felt at one point I was gonna cry, because I'm just like, the amount of history she made in that one moment, to be like the first Black woman to do so, the second Black person in general to win a Royal Rumble, and she's still so young and she's so herself. Like her gimmick is her gimmick, but she's also very real in that gimmick. And I love that she didn't have to water herself down to be accepted by the WWE universe. So for me, it was like an amazing thing. Like I was like near tears for me, because I was just like, this is like, I'm telling my children, I was like, you guys, I'm like, keep talking to you guys, like you guys care that much about me talking about this. But I'm like, this is amazing. She made history. Like this is just everything, like Black girl magic that she did. She put it all out there at the Royal Rumble. So for me, it was like one of the most awesome moments, I think, for the last 5 years for me in WWE.
Court, how did you feel?
Oh my goodness. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm thinking about it, like as she's talking about it, like I'm reliving the moment again. Obviously Bianca Belair was my number 1 pick. I've talked to you about my love and adoration for her before, but Bianca Belair, she's the reason why I really got into wrestling as hard as I am now. There's just something so beautiful watching a Black woman just being so eloquent and just like phenomenal at what she does, and like living that and owning that truth. And you see it through all of her matches, through NXT, into her transition with SmackDown now. And we definitely saw that at the Women's Royal Rumble. Like Katrina said, that Chronicle it was just so thorough, and we learned so much about her. And after you watched that special, you knew that something like really magical was going to happen for her. You couldn't learn all of those beautiful things about her and just like have that just be it. Otherwise, I mean, that happened. We've seen that happen before, but with her, no, I didn't think that would happen here. And to actually like watch her win, I cried. I definitely, I cried. I was just super excited to watch history being made on the eve of Black History Month. Like they could not have done that moment better, especially the promo at the end, like the interview at the end. Like she really knows how to like hit the emotional points with the fan bases. Like she really knows how to be authentic. She knows how to speak from a place of like true like honor and like hard work. And she's just my favorite. And I'm so excited to see her at WrestleMania going for a championship that has been long overdue. And I'm calling it. I hope she wins one. Like that's what I want for her, and that's what I hope to see. So yeah.
Ella, who are you hoping to see Bianca Belair go up against at WrestleMania? We know that she has either the choice of Asuka, who is the Raw Women's Champion, or she has the choice of Sasha Banks, who is SmackDown Women's Champion, or she could go back for that NXT title and challenge Io Shirai. Who would you like to see her face off against?
I think we're all thinking Sasha.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But also, I am kind of intrigued by Io and Bianca, but I think that Io is going to be involved with Tony or Mercedes. So I think they're going to go the direction of Sasha and Bianca, which I think is incredible. But it's more intriguing, too, because as of right now, they are both baby faces. So at some point between now and Mania, they're going to have to turn one of them, or perhaps maybe we will get a face versus face show off at WrestleMania. And it's interesting to see which of them, because they're so beloved superstars, which of them the crowd is going to get behind more. It's going to be like a rivalry coming up with them. So I think they can create pure magic because they are two of the biggest draws and biggest athletes and amazing characters in WWE today. And so I'm definitely leaning towards Sasha versus Bianca at Mania. I think that's the direction they will go and that they should go, but everybody has a different opinion, but we'll see.
Samira, what do you think?
Definitely Sasha versus Bianca. I mean, I think that's what everybody wants to see. I keep seeing it on Twitter, everywhere. I feel like they would have good chemistry together, and it would just be so amazing. Especially since even Bianca is on SmackDown, Sasha's on SmackDown, so it would work. And up until WrestleMania, it would work. But maybe titles will change at the same time. We still got one more pay-per-view left. Titles could change for all we know.
We saw the tender moment between Montez Ford and Bianca Belair after she won the match that was exclusively on the WWE Network. Iridian, you sent it to me, I believe. Well, how did you feel about that moment? I saw something earlier where I guess Montez was actually locked out of the building. They had to let him in. Like, he almost missed that moment. I know, he almost missed that moment. So to see that moment, how did you feel? Montez is his own superstar, but to see your wife make history, as Katrina said, the first Black woman to win a Royal Rumble and the second Black person to win a Royal Rumble in general between men and women. How did that moment make you feel?
It was just beautiful moment after beautiful moment. Like, it couldn't have been more perfect for Bianca to win and then to get backstage and see her husband, and everyone was clapping for her. She was in tears. I was in tears. I didn't know how to feel. I had so many emotions, but like, there was even videos of her parents reacting to the world. Got to see that. And it was just perfection, honestly. And Montez was locked out. I heard that Hurricane Helms and Casey Catanzaro had to go run backstage to go get him from security, which was crazy. I'm like, you almost were not there for your wife winning the Royal Rumble. You could have missed it. But luckily he made it there on time. And it was just so beautiful. Like, I feel like for them to even release that video, it warmed my heart.
It was really good. It was like excellent. And I'm really, really happy that we got to see a women's Royal Rumble like that in my lifetime. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to watch it again probably later.
Would we say this was the best women's Royal Rumble that we've seen? Okay, I have head shakes already. A lot of people online were saying it was much better than last year's. It was better than the year before. Why do you think it was so much better than the previous years? I'll start with Katrina.
Like the first Women's Royal Rumble, I was just hyped we were getting it finally. Like I always felt the women sometimes do outperform the men, and when it's time for them to deliver, they do. So I was just happy to have that. And then I love Lita. So when she came back, I had like a whole meltdown about that because she's like my favorite, one of my favorites of all time. So, but it seemed like everybody was on a mission at this Royal Rumble. Like Bailey was like one of the MVPs to me. She took like every bump you can think of from like every woman was just giving her, and she was taking it. There were the parts that was just, you can tell it was like funny, and everybody going for Alexa Bliss when she got there. And everybody's like, let's just get rid of her at this moment. And I was like, look at the teamwork happening right now. Like, it just was no part of the Royal Rumble where I was like, it felt boring, or I felt like, can I run to the bathroom really quick? I really was just really invested in watching the Royal Rumble from start to finish. So I just felt like everybody was just on a mission to prove what I feel like most women wrestling fans know already, that they can deliver. But they did so from the very beginning to when Bianca was like pointing and saying, this is, her. And I'm like, yes, thank you, WWE, for giving me this. They just, from the whole start to finish, is probably the best. And the Royal Rumble in general, it overall was really solid pay-per-view. But that was the best part, was the Women's Royal Rumble for me. It was just from start to finish, just absolutely amazing, perfect. And even the story with Rhea and Charlotte. And I was like, oh, I knew this was going to happen because of what happened at NXT last year. And I was like, how nobody else saw this happen. I was so happy. Like, yes, this is the story time. This is me, girls, trying to get Charlotte out of here. I was just so involved in it that it was just like, perfect from start to finish. So I just think they did what we all knew they could do anyway. And I kind of wish they would have closed off the show. Like, I get Edge closing it off. I do understand that, but I felt like because Edge has been here before, and of course the story is like, you've been gone for a while, you got hurt when you came back. Great story, but I felt like they delivered so much, they should have closed out Royal Rumble. Personally, I think they should have been the Women's Royal Rumble match. But outside of that one gripe, I did really enjoy like what they did for us at the Royal Rumble.
Speaking of moments that we saw during the match that made us excited, we saw Mickie James and Charlotte Flair face off, and I know Ella was freaking out. Those are her two favorite superstars, and she had the chance to speak to Charlotte Flair this week and ask her about that moment. Could you share a little bit with us, Ella, about what she said?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been highly anticipated, at least from me, because we have never seen, since Mickie James has been back, we have never seen Mickie and Charlotte in a match together or in the ring together at any point, whether because they're on different brands or Mickie was injured. And so when Mickie came out at number 19, I guess the spot wasn't planned, which I was shocked at. Charlotte told me it kind of just happened because Mickie was like kicking butt or in like doing her moves and stuff. And then they just looked at each other and they were the two that stood up at the same time. And so as Mickie described it, sometimes magic just happens. And we saw just a little glimpse of what those two could do. I think Charlotte said they wanted it to go. Oh no, Mickie said that she wanted it to go a little longer, but they gave us a little taste of the magic they can produce. So fingers crossed we finally get that one-on-one matchup between two of the most decorated champions in WWE history. So
like you said, this Royal Rumble was very magical, and I am very excited and glad that Bianca won. I hope that she wins that title. I would love to see her and Sasha Banks go up against each other, so it's just a matter of time before those two get together in the ring and make magic. But thank you guys so much for joining me, Katrina and Court, our guests for this segment. Where can the people find you on social media?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Cat We Trust. On Instagram and Twitter, the Easy 3, but Facebook it's spelled correctly. And I do I usually interview indie wrestlers, and then I talk about other random things. So that's where you can catch me. Again, I'm like already obsessed. If you see me ranting, that's usually what it is. Something like, oh my God, let me rant about this for a while, and it's okay, I'm fine, just let me rant. But that's where you can find me on social media.
And for me, I am at the Court Cam on Twitter and Instagram. I'm a culture journalist, and I usually do like pop culture stuff. But this year, I really want to get into wrestling journalism because that's like what I love. So hopefully, I'm like welcomed with open arms, and maybe you'll see some stuff from me this year. So yeah.
Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens had a last man standing match, and it was probably one of the highlights of the Royal Rumble. I was really excited. Their emotions was just there. I was super connected to the storyline. There was a lot going on, especially because they were not just in the ring, but they were literally everywhere. There was handcuffs that came out. There was a forklifting vibe. Alicia, what did you think about this match?
Oh my God, it was so dramatic and good. And just, I was hooked from beginning to end. Like I think we said on our podcast, I was just like, usually sometimes you're like, I'm gonna look at my phone or whatever, but I was like, I'm in. I love KO. Roman's doing amazing as heel. Like this is perfect. This is what he needed this whole time. Head of the table, into it. I love that they used the whole Thunderdome so you could see stadium. It was excellent.
What did you think about Paul Heyman getting involved?
Oh, I felt so bad because I would have been Paul in that key moment. You have one job, like one job. And then you're like, they're like, okay, it's your go. And he's like, ah, crap. It's not the way, it's probably something wasn't right, like during the rehearsal or something. So then you're like, oh crap, I gotta cut for time. I would have been Paul. So I feel really bad because it would have been so cool. Like, yeah, I got it. Boom, done, win. And then it just was a little awkward, but we
Seems
just
like
have to
there
pretend.
was like a little mishap there. I don't know.
You noticed the ref
Yeah.
stopped counting.
Yeah, he forgot how to count.
We also saw the involvement of the golf cart, which has occurred in other wrestling companies as of late, specifically AEW. And Matt Hardy took offense to them using a golf cart. I guess he owns all golf carts now, but he was salty. I mean, I wasn't salty. They've used golf carts in the past, but we almost saw a murder on WWE television. Amelia, what were your thoughts when you saw them just racing that golf cart like there was no tomorrow?
It was like a murder suicide, really, because Roman almost got taken out with that. That was scary and it was loud. And like, I just was already sad that Kevin was like near death. Like he was taking the worst spot. Like how many tables does he have to go through? I was really scared, but they seemed okay because they're champ, they're troopers. That was really scary though. At least the other guy saw it coming from like a few yards, and like Kevin just got, it was like done. That was scary, but it was also really cool.
Was there
It was really
any
cool.
doubt in anyone's mind that Roman Reigns is going to lose this title here? I think a lot of people expected Roman to pick up the win here, and they weren't really surprised with Roman winning, but they were surprised at how ruthless Kevin Owens was in this match. He really did not give up until that final moment. Ella, did you think that Roman was going to lose at any point, or have you like stood firm in the tribal chief holding that WWE championship?
Personally, I was rooting for Kevin. I think I had a little bit of doubt when he handcuffed Roman to wherever it was on the stage, whatever, in the pole or whatever. But then Roman knocked the ref out, which that still cracks me up when the ref said hit the beam. There was a little doubt in that moment though, because I'm like, what is Roman gonna do? I didn't expect him to like knock out the ref though. So that was really the only moment I had doubt that Roman wasn't going to win. But then obviously him doing his heel tactics and being sneaky and conniving worked out in his favor. So that was really the only spot that I had the little bit of doubt, but Roman still came back and found a way to win.
Samira, did you think that Roman was going to retain, or did you also want Kevin to win?
I believed Roman was going to retain. I couldn't see them like having him lose in that way since they built him so much as this like top heel. I was like, I don't think it was time yet. I feel like they need to do it somewhere else with somebody that's like a big top baby face for it and then knock them down, because it's just not time yet. They've built him up so much with Paul Heyman.
We thinking Edge is going to challenge for Roman's championship. We know WrestleMania is right around the corner. A lot of people are assuming it's going to be Drew, but there are some people that would love to see Edge versus Roman. And apparently Roman does not have the time to be disrespected by Edge. Edge showed up on SmackDown fashionably late, and Roman said that Edge is disrespecting him. Alicia, do you see Roman versus Edge, or do you think Roman is pretty safe right now?
I don't know. Honestly, I could see Edge versus any of the champions. You know, he's going to every show and being like, all right, I got my eyes on you. So it could be anybody. Any match is going to be good. That's a main event, Edge versus anybody. I don't know if I necessarily see Edge and Roman at Mania. I don't know if that's where they're headed. I'm into Edge and Roman. Roman is holding SmackDown down, and Edge is really synonymous with SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be pretty cool, you know, generation thing. But I don't really see that happening, but I'm into it either way.
Amelia, what about you?
See it happening, honestly. I think Roman can make it a really good. I mean, it's so dramatic. The whole head of the table stuff is so dramatic, and like Edge brings hella drama, as we know. It's good. It could work out really well, and I really wouldn't mind seeing it over like McIntyre for sure. I would prefer it, to be honest.
What about you, Iridian? I know you had mentioned earlier that you would love to see Drew versus Edge, but the thought of Roman being involved in a match with the Rated R superstar, I mean, does that pique your interest at all?
I would love to see that, but the only reason that I would pick Edge for Drew is, Edge to go against Drew in WrestleMania is because I'm scared of Roman. You know, I think that Roman could actually like beat Edge, and I feel like I don't want to see that. Like, I don't want to see Edge beat. I want Edge to win. I feel like Roman right now is like, you know, a superhero. Like, he's undefeatable right now. So I think like maybe against Drew, he has a chance. And I think like that's the only reason why. But I would not hate the match if it happened.
What's next for KO? He lost this match. This is his second or third time that he's lost a match against Roman Reigns for that championship. Samira, where do you see him going next?
Well, they just finished SmackDown with, him coming out and attacking Roman Reigns. I don't see this going on for another pay-per-view, to be honest. I mean, I wouldn't be interested. I think he needs to go somewhere else and do something, just different, because like you said, we've seen this, 2-3 times. It's time for something new.
Ella, I see you deep in thought. Who do you think would be a good fit for a storyline with Kevin Owens at this point?
You know, as much as I don't like this guy, I think having a program with someone like Baron Corbin would get KO huge over as a babyface, because at least me, I don't like Baron Corbin, that he's just not my cup of tea. I think since Baron Corbin has a posse now, I think KO can kind of maybe even the odds and find somebody to team with against Baron Corbin. I think that would be an interesting feud. They need like some other new, refreshing storyline. I'm trying to think of other heels on SmackDown right now. Maybe like Sami Zayn. Oh, Sami Zayn and Kevin have history, and Sami's a heel. So maybe there's something there, even though Sami kind of wants retribution for his IC title loss. So we don't know what's going to happen with that, but maybe Sami and Kevin, or Baron and Kevin, we will see.
Alicia and Amelia, I know you guys keep up with independence, and you probably are familiar with the history between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Would that be something that you would be interested in seeing in WWE in 2021?
I never get tired of it. I never get tired of Sami and Kevin trying to kill each other. They know each other so well. They just deliver every time they wrestle. Because even just like Sami came first, right? NXT. And Kevin came in, and I don't know if he would have had the impact he had if it wasn't for Sami. Like, he came in with the bang. Like, he betrayed his best friend, and like they had this amazing storyline that could go on forever. I think. I don't know.
I agree. It's that they're the kind of people you just go away. They do their own thing, but they come back in storyline. A Rock, Stone Cold, a Trish Lita, that you're just like, I can just put this storyline anytime, and I'm entertained, and there's always a story. You know, KO could try to go for the IC title, and Sami can be like, bruh, like, I'm the Intercontinental Champion. Justice for me, conspiracy. Boom, there you go. That's all you need.
And Sami Zayn has his little camera crew, so, they could make a little documentary if they wanted to. I mean, I think they've had a long storied history outside of WWE and in WWE, so it should be interesting to see what exactly is next for Kevin Owens, as well as Roman Reigns. We'll see if Edge decides to take on the Tribal Chief at WrestleMania, or if he decides to go with the Scottish Psychopath. Thank you, Amelia and Alicia, for joining us today on the Prosecco Panel. Where can the people find you guys on social media?
You can find us everywhere you get your podcasts. YouTube, Kayfabe Queens. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Kayfabe Queens, and we have some really cool stuff coming up, and we can't wait to show it. Thank you so much for having us on. You guys are so cute and amazing, and I'm glad to be a part of this.
Absolutely.
This year for the Men's Royal Rumble, it was announced who was going to be starting the match before. So we got the surprise that it was going to be Edge and Randy. You know, this hasn't happened in a lot of other Rumbles where they mention who's going to be starting. For me, it got me really invested because I wasn't sure how I was feeling about the men's Rumble because I'm typically more excited about the women's Rumble because the ladies, that's where it's at, you know. But Rest Friend, how were you feeling about Edge and Randy being announced before? Were you excited? Did this get you invested? Did you feel any type of way?
To be honest, I wasn't really that invested. I didn't really think much of it. Like you, I was more excited for the women. So them announcing Edge and Randy, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, at least we know who's starting now. No surprise there. For the women, they didn't really say much.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I didn't really feel too much.
Lo, how did you feel?
Yes, so as we know, Edge and Randy started off the match. Edge was slated to come in second, but at the last minute, for some reason, they had him come in first, and then Randy was second. So a lot of people always mention when you watch the Royal Rumble, you start two people off that have a strong history together, whether they've been tag team partners or they've feuded. So I think these two were specifically perfect to start the match off. Early in the match, we saw Randy Orton get injured, and it left a lot of people wondering, was he still in the match or was he done? Brittni, did you think that he was fully done, or were you into his antics? Did you know that he was going to come back in the match?
Oh my gosh, I called it right on Twitter when I saw the refs taking him out. Girl, I knew it. I knew that guy was going to come back last second. And after everyone put all the work in, he was going to take the last person out, or try to.
Right. Typical Randy Orton. Ella, there were a lot of returns in this match. We saw Carlito. We have not seen Carlito in years. It was rumored that he would participate in the Royal Rumble match since he wasn't on the Legends Night on Raw, but is he eating apples over there? Is that how he's so chiseled? I was shocked. We have never seen him in that type of, you guys are laughing, but I'm being serious.
Yes.
We have never seen him in that type of physical appearance before. How did you feel seeing Carlito back and then the next night seeing him on Raw?
I was very excited to see Carlito back after 10 years. We got to see some nostalgia when he came back, and then he came back on Monday Night Raw to team with Jeff Hardy. Now, I know they're doing a trial run with him where I think it's for 3 weeks, and then from there they'll go if he's going to be full-time, a producer, or neither, I believe I read. So it was really fun seeing the surprises like Carlito. We saw Hurricane Shane Helms. We saw Christian, but Carlito coming back, someone we haven't seen in literally a decade, was incredible and really nostalgic seeing him team with Jeff the next night.
Like you mentioned, Christian did come back during this match. Samira, you did a reaction show on your YouTube. How did it feel seeing Christian back and specifically being involved with Edge and having that tender moment with him in the ring?
Oh my gosh, that was like insane. I was like really not expecting him to come back at all. So like then when the timer went and his music hit, I like lost it. I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe he's here. And then I just started thinking about him and Edge. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna do so good. They didn't do their 5-second pose. I was waiting for that. They didn't do it. So hopefully maybe that means something for them to do, maybe a little tag team run in the future. Hopefully that would be so amazing.
We know that Edge went on to win the match after Randy Orton came back in the ring miraculously, healing from his injury that he had earlier in the match. Teti, how did you feel about seeing Edge win? A lot of people weren't expecting Edge to win. A lot of people thought Daniel Bryan was going to win. I thought Big E was going to win. What were your thoughts on him winning?
I was so happy. And to be honest, I when he won and I was happy, I was a little emotional after him and Christian hugged. And then I thought, I wonder what the internet thinks. I thought a lot of people weren't going to like Edge winning, but I was so happy. And immediately when I got on Twitter, I saw everyone else was happy as well. So I don't know, I guess, that's our someone we watched growing up, when we were all kids. So I think we all felt the same. Like, I don't know, first of all, he's back from an injury that we thought we were never going to see him back from. And I don't know, I was very emotional, to be honest.
Brittni, didn't you predict that Edge would win?
No, I was hoping actually Ali or Big E. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when Edge won, man, I was crying like a baby, that's for sure. I thought that was such a feel-good moment. I don't know, after that retirement speech, and that just broke my heart, and seeing him be able to come back and win the Royal Rumble for a title match, I think that's incredible for anybody that had that type of injury to come back.
Absolutely. Iridian, we know that Edge is pretty much eyeing everyone. He went to NXT this week to see what's up with Finn Balor. And now he's set to see what's up with Roman Reigns. And we know that he was on Raw with Drew. Who do you see him facing off against at WrestleMania? Do you think he would challenge for the NXT title? That's something that he's never held before.
You know what? When he showed up in NXT, I was shook. I'm like, man, I can't believe that I'm watching Edge on NXT right now. Like, it's crazy. And for him to say, you know, Finn, I've never had that belt. Like, oh my God, that just got so many ideas working in my head. I'm like, can I see this happening at WrestleMania? Like, yes, I can totally see Edge, you know, trying to win the NXT title, which is a belt that he hasn't had before. But I would also love to see him go against Drew. I feel like that matchup would just be so good. I feel like if he picks Roman, I would be a little scared that Roman would hold on to it. But I would definitely see something really great in him even going for the NXT championship with Finn.
Does anyone see him going up against Roman?
No.
I hope not.
Samira, please let us know your theory.
I mean, why not? I think it would work really well. I mean, Roman is like the baddest bad guy. I can't see him going against anybody else at WrestleMania. I mean, I could see the Finn Balor point. I mean, that was like so good when I watched it on NXT. I was like, oh my God, wait, this could be actually much better than him and Roman. But I don't know. Roman is like the ultimate bad guy. Could Edge be the one to like take it all down? Like, I don't know. I think that would be a really great match.
Could we see The Miz getting involved here, Ella? I know you've been eyeing that Money in the Bank briefcase that he's been holding. Could you see him cashing in that Money in the Bank briefcase against Edge or Edge's competitor?
I could. I think if Miz is going to do it, Miz is going to do it in grand fashion at WrestleMania. At least that's what I'm hoping. But that's how they should book him, because Miz wants to be that A-lister, you know, the headliner. I think a great way for him to solidify himself as like stealing the show would to cash in at WrestleMania, whether it's in Edge and whoever his competitors match or the other one. I think Miz would make a grand entrance, and I hope that he would do it in Miz fashion. So I think we'll definitely see by WrestleMania, if not at WrestleMania, Miz at least cashing in. Whether or not they will have him win is another conversation. I hope they do, but you never know with booking. So we will see.
I also wanted to bring up, we saw Christian in the match like we mentioned, but we saw that moment with him and Big E, and it's had people wondering, is Big E and Christian going to face off at some point for the Intercontinental Championship? Teddy, do you see this as a possibility?
I don't know. I don't know what to... That sounds like something that he should get. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but I saw on Twitter how everyone wants that to happen, and then I started thinking, and I'm like, it should happen before he even retires for good. I think that's something that he needs to have.
What do you think, Brittni? Do you think that should be Christian's last run, or do you see him maybe going up against Edge for that final moment before he heads into the Hall of Fame, which I think he should?
I don't know. I kind of wanted them to be on a tag team again. Edge and Christian is honestly what I'm being selfish, but I really think the Intercontinental, I really think him against Big E would be a great match.
On this day, we saw clearly that Edge won the Royal Rumble, and I'm looking forward to seeing who exactly he will challenge at WrestleMania. Whether it's Drew or Roman or Finn, I'm sure that it will be a phenomenal and interesting match. Thank you, Teti and Brittni, for joining us. Where can the people find you on social media?
Thank you, Lo, for having us. And you can find me at Teti Chavez, TetiChavez, Instagram, or T_Chavez on Twitter.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. It was so nice to meet all of you. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Brittni Sacco.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wrestling Winedown. You can find all of our other episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you listen to your podcast. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at WWDCAST. Our new website is also coming soon. Let us know what you thought about the episode. What was your favorite part? We upload episodes with brand new co-hosts every week. Until next time, enjoy your wine and, of course, enjoy your wrestling. Cheers!